Hi, I'm Doug Martin, the President and CEO of Nest Entertainment. We're excited to present to your family our first full-length animated feature film, The Swan Princess. As a company, we're committed to providing the best possible family entertainment that is wholesome, uplifting, and worthy of your trust. As you know, children love animation, and through our half-hour video series, we're proud to provide your family with character-building stories from the Bible and history. Each story we produce is fun and entertaining, but most of all, every story teaches moral values and characteristics that will change lives forever. As a customer, you've helped make The Swan Princess and all of these Bible and hero stories possible. We thank you for your support. Now, we want to share some exciting behind-the-scenes events that went into the making of this classic film, The Swan Princess.
What a good idea, such a charming and romantic notion. This is my idea. What a good idea. Such a powerful and magic potion. This is exactly my idea.
The birth of this exciting motion picture actually had its beginning in 1985, when Rick Rich left the Walt Disney Company to work with Jared Brown and Sheldon O. Young, producing animated stories from the New Testament.
I'm sure we'll look back when we view the Bible stories with our grandchildren, and we'll remember the years of creating them as the best years of our lives. These many stories on the Old and New Testament were a wonderful effort of love and talent that brought some of the most exciting Bible stories to life. We gave our hearts to producing these Bible stories. But we had always wanted to do an animated feature. During the 5 years we were doing the Bible and hero stories, we had time to find and develop a top animation team, along with the right story for a great motion picture.
Over the years, many stories were considered and researched, such as the story of Rabbit Hill, a fantasy story about boy pirates, and The First Dog. Finally, Rick and scriptwriter Brian Nissen began working on the German folk story Swan Lake.
I remember Rick and I were struggling as we were trying to put this story together. But it was a classic. We knew we wanted to do it. We knew that other companies wanted to do it as well and had also run into problems. And then one day on the freeway, on the way home, I can picture the exact spot where we came up with this line that Rothbart would say, "Tomorrow night there will be no moon." And that was it. Once we had that line, I think we solved all the major problems that were inherent in that story.
After many drafts, the script was given to Jared Brown, the executive producer for the Bible and hero stories.
Well, when I first read this story, it was like going back in the time of real magic, of the fairy tales that my mother used to read to us or tell us as our bedtime stories, and of course this was before the days of television. Well, I knew when I first read this story that it was a winner, and I also knew that we needed to begin the production immediately. So we started on it, and then we relied on our faith and our total commitment, and in the end we made this miracle happen.
Artists were hired, and the expanding studio began to flourish on the $2 million that were initially committed. The show began in 1992. By the time the film was finished and released in November 1994, over $45 million were raised through the unending effort of Sheldon O. Young, who became the film's executive producer.
Raising $45 million was a very difficult task in the last 3 years. As an independent studio that's never produced a movie before, we had to see a lot of people to get interest. So I spent an inordinate amount of time on an airplane, over 500,000 miles, visiting with 15 or more banks to try to get them to finance us. And so it was a very tough time in our lifetime, and will probably go down as history in my lifetime as the toughest time in raising any kind of funds or doing business.
In animation, unlike shooting a live action film where post-editing can make or break a film, everything must be planned to near perfection because of the astronomical cost of every second of animation. The story is everything.
In animation, we do extensive planning. My late mentor, John Lounsbury, who was affectionately known as one of the 9 old men at the Disney Studios, always told me that great animation can't save a bad story.
The story continuously evolves from concept to script to the development of the characters, which are actually sculpted into lifelike models for the artist to study. Voices are recorded, and then the animators go to work making the characters as real as possible. The storyboard is constantly updated, and then rough animated pencil sketches begin.
Get moving, Slowpoke.
Slowpoke?
These are refined in the process called cleanup. Then the real magic of animation comes to life when the full color backgrounds and painted cells are finally added.
Any luck?
Hold up!
To the rescue, mademoiselle!
Well, as far as the design goes, we start out with a character that looks pretty similar to a real puffin, with a really long beak and small eyes, and he looks a little more realistic as a puffin. And then you evolve him and make him more cartoony and add your own kind of touches and your own style, and pretty soon he evolves into a more pleasant design. As you draw him, he just slowly evolves. The more scenes you do, the more changes that are made. And I did go to the recordings. I've been to just about all of them, and what I do there is I watch him and see his mannerisms, and he does this thing where he does this thing with his eyebrows going up and down all the time.
I owe you, Princess, and I intend on staying until me debt is paid.
The design and the sound of the great animal were another difficult balancing act to get right.
We worked on getting the right sound for this creature. We wanted something that would give suspense and be scary, but at the same time we didn't want to terrify or give the little kids nightmares. Then I came to Rick with a combination of 3 sounds mixed together that came from our extensive sound library. The first is a lion growl that was electronically altered. The second was a metal screech, and the last was a high-pitched cry from a crow. Then we put everything together, and this is what we came up with.
On the Foley stage, the sound of the flapping wings was created by opening and closing an umbrella. Wooden sticks were broken when the great animal breaks the tree limb and attacks Derek. With the musical score and electronic alterations added, this scene becomes unbelievably real.
The biggest scene of the picture was a production number called Princesses on Parade. We knew that to make this work, we actually would have to choreograph the number. A choreographer studied the music and developed the dance sequences, which were then actually filmed and used by the animators to create these beautiful scenes.
Beauty and glamour and breeding unmatched.
Princesses on parade.
Lovely, enthralling, and all unattached. Hoi polloi and those well-bred agree, each enjoy a royal pedigree.
Born for success.
Each possesses a spark, each a remarkable man.
Every great animated film has some special effects that set it apart from every other film. The Swan Princess had many of these breathtaking moments. Probably the most stunning is the scene coming to the water and castle. The idea was borrowed from the film trailer that was shown in theaters 1 year before the film was released. This awesome special effect was created by a combination of painted backgrounds and computer graphics. One of the problems of the story that was quickly discovered was that many of the scenes are staged at night, because that is when we see Odette in her human form. The show had to have light added, or the feel of the picture would have been too dark. The process of painting backgrounds for the animation was changed to put more light around the characters and fading darker off center screen.
Even though we have night scenes, there's still a very light feeling to it. He doesn't want to be heavy or dark. He wants to keep that fairy tale kind of a flavor and an upbeat feeling in the picture.